I had a really cool sort of healing experience with sound last night that I wanted to share with you all. And it's sort of ironic because I am a professional musician. I have a doctorate in music. I've been a musician since I was 4, and I've been a sound practitioner for several years now, helping people with sound, doing sound baths, online sound bath subscriptions, all that stuff. And yet, when these things happen to me, I'm still amazed. So yesterday I was really, really busy with a lot of different things, but I was like very kind of short of breath, nothing concerning, but I was thinking it had something to do with a recent mold exposure because I have a severe mold reaction. And I was just feeling like even at yoga last night, like I couldn't release tension and I felt just like there was like this huge rock in my stomach and I didn't know what was going on, but I also was not spending a lot of time thinking about it because I was so distracted. And then last night, I found myself on the websites of Jonathan Goldman, who pretty much wrote the book on sound in the modern era. He has so many amazing things to share about the history of sound, how it's been used through pretty much every human culture for the purposes not just of shamanic journeying, but also for healing. It's also been used in religious institutions for the same reason. And anyway, I ended up down some rabbit holes that were highly enjoyable, which led me to his channel. And while I'm doing all this, I'm still having this feeling. I'm still feeling like I can't get deep breaths and all of this. I'm just annoyed by it at this point. I know it's nothing to be concerned about it. I have had it checked out before. But I was just like, I'm just going to listen to some of his recordings. So check out some of his recordings. This is Jonathan Goldman, and this is the one that I listened to. So I was just listening to the very beginning of this very long recording, just out of curiosity more than anything. And what I noticed about Jonathan Goldman is that when he does a recording, he very often does almost what I would call like an invocation at the beginning, which when I do this as a sound practitioner, what I'm doing is working on clearing space, getting rid of stuck and congested energy. And so I just was playing this and I wasn't even like really looking at it or listening to it. I was just kind of casually listening to it as I was getting ready for bed. And suddenly all of those congested, like I can't breathe feelings just evaporated. Now, one thing that's really key to know about sound, and the science does support this, is that the intention behind sound is very, very important in terms of what's happening with it. So just listening to a frequency on its own isn't necessarily going to be healing, but if somebody has an intention for something while they're giving a sound or a frequency, this can be really powerful. In this case, Jonathan Goldman is using the human voice, and what he's doing is he's creating harmonics with that, a fundamental note with 2 octaves above and then a major third, which it seems is really good for cleansing and clearing the space. And I'm just wondering, and I don't know for sure, but I'm just wondering if that wasn't his intention because of the result that I had. And suddenly I could breathe again. I didn't feel like I had a rock in my stomach. I was getting up and moving around and I was like, man, I feel like 85% better. And then the remainder of that uncomfortable feeling, I just addressed very simply with an aromatherapy hydrosol that I sprayed on that. And it kind of dissipated the rest of that stressed, congested energy, which was around my solar plexus and makes a lot of sense for the types of things that I was working on yesterday. It was a lot of career and work-related stuff, having to address a lot of things very directly, and nothing was uncomfortable. It was just a lot of that type of business owner energy. And in the particular state that I was in going into that, what and I think ended up happening is that I ended up getting a lot of congested energy around that part of my body, and then I just was not tuned in and paying attention. And this is why having somebody else besides yourself do sound work for you is so powerful, because we are not giving ourselves permission to actually do self-care and to take time. And then when we do, sometimes it can take us a while to tune into what's actually going on in my body and what's happening. What I love so much about sound is that you don't have to like always know or understand what's going on. It just goes to work for you, especially if the person that is working on you or for you has a specific healing intention in mind when they're using the different sounds and frequencies that they're using in their sound session. This is also why I love sound baths so much, because in the sound bath, you basically get to short circuit your monkey brain and get into that really deep state of rest and digest. And yes, sometimes that also does bring up other things out of your tissues and out of your energy centers and allows them to be metabolized and released. But I find that this happens much more easily through sound than it does through a lot of other modalities. And very often it does that without us having to relive that situation or memory or whatever has gotten stuck. So, when you're going to do sound work or you're listening to something online, know first of all that the intention of the person that made that recording or that video is really key. And if you're not sure what that is, be very cautious. You want to be able to trust your sound practitioner the same as you would trust your massage therapist or your doctor. And secondly, if you've never tried sound before as a therapy, as a stress management technique, as a way to help balance yourself, I highly recommend this. And this is why I provide an online sound bath subscription on demand. So if you have even 5 minutes in your day, like I did last night, where you can just quickly listen to something, it can help to bring you back into balance like it did for me. Have you had any specific experiences with sound before? And I don't mean just music at a concert, although that is very valid, but I mean sound as a therapy. I would love to hear them below.